Welcome, Michael Evans, to Systems of Existence. I am so excited to have you here and to talk about your system that is obviously making history, it's basically the legacy you leave behind whenever you leave, hopefully not too soon, but it's definitely an invention that more and more people are talking about. Also, now that Terrence Howard has been all over the world. And yeah, I'm really excited to have you here to talk about your invention and your discovery more so, and how it all relates to the structure of the world, the nature of reality, and yeah, the truth that everything is light. So before I go into more of a tangent, I would like to welcome you and introduce yourself a little bit. And yeah,
I'm ready when you are.
we are already recording.
Say again?
We are already recording.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Michael, just introduce yourself a little bit for those of us that, or the listeners that have not heard of you yet, or that are not really familiar with what you're all about, what your invention is all about, and yeah, what your passion is all about.
I'm an artist to start with. So I'm not a physicist. I'm not a mathematician. I am very ignorant of, I never passed a math course in my life except geometry. And I found what I found accidentally by just playing observing the space between things. And in the space between things, I found another dimension, like the flower of life has been around for thousands of years already, but it's in 2 dimensions. And I've worked on making the flower of life into 3 dimensions. So it gives you a view of the space between things, the space between the lines. And out of that investigation, I patented a toy called Space Clusters many, many years ago that was like Tinker Toys or Lincoln Logs, but there were no straight lines. The curved rods go into curved intersections, and everything you built was curved, not straight. And that in itself revealed to me the space between, and it was like following a map, not knowing where I was going, not knowing what I was looking for, but there it appeared all of a sudden in just the doing, not the knowing, but the doing.
Yeah, it found you in a way by being very present and being really observant. And for those listeners that are obviously following, the systems that I like to use, human design astrology, I stalked Michael, and he is a 4/6 emotional projector. So I'm not surprised that you are coming with, something that will make you a role model, or has already made you a role model in this life. And you're also in a really critical time in your life right now, having a secondary progressed lunar return. And there are a lot of activations in your chart and in your 10th and 11th house. So I'm not surprised that all of a sudden the TRION RE, which is what we are obviously going into in a second, is really having a boost right now. And I love that. Like, more and more people are talking about you. I mean, you've been around for a long, long time, but I think you haven't really gotten the exposure that you should become.
Well, it was always been there, but it was hiding in plain sight. And so we just, like the flower of life, has been there for thousands of years, since they built the pyramids in Abydos.
Yes, I've seen those, but that's true. But in a way, no one really put it into a 3-dimensional context, which is what actually you did.
That's true. I checked the flower of life off the 2D page and made it 3D.
Yes, and that's actually, the real, like, when I saw that, I'm like, that's genius. Of course it has to be 3D because we are in a 3 like dimensional experience. Why is it 2D all the time?
Well, my investigations have sort of led me to believe that there isn't a first or second dimension. I think the first and second dimension were inventions by man to explain that which was unseeable and unknowable. The point being one dimension, a straight line being at 2 dimensions, and a box being a third dimension. Well, it breaks down smaller than that. That's what I've done, is broken down. Instead of 5 regular solids, I've come up with the TRION RE, which is the 6th regular solid. It follows Euler's rules of regular polyhedra, and it has never been described before.
Yeah, it hasn't. That's what I mean. And so it reinvents the entire approach to geometry, which is what I love about your work, because I love sacred geometry. I've always been really fascinated by it, but to have it in a 3-dimensional context, as you put everything into, is just genius. And yeah, that's the TRION RE for everyone who is watching on YouTube. And when I saw that, I'm like, there's
When I
just,
saw it, I was amazed. I didn't know it was there. It was the space between 4 tetrahedrons.
yeah.
And the one thing that I found out with this is once I made it out of a lucite, I took my laser and I shot the laser into one point away from the other side. And it still goes to the other side because that's how light works. And
Yeah.
there's one TRION RE connected to another TRION RE, another TRION RE, and it keeps going. It's a container. It was a spiritual experience finding this. It was revealed to me by just playing, not even knowing that I was looking for it. But I took the negative space and I made it positive space.
Yeah, well, you basically made the invisible visible.
Well, in the slideshow I'm going to show you, there'll be an image of how that occurred.
One question I have for you is, how did you come up with the name, and when was your
Good
discovery?
question. I came up with the kit, and I was trying to figure out what do I call it.
Yeah.
So I was reading an astronomy book, and it said the universe seems to be made up of clusters of objects, and these clusters seem to be made up of even smaller clusters of objects, infinitum. And I said, that's it. This is the space between everything. And that's when I realized I had an epiphany at the moment that that was the ultimate shape that created everything. Since it was a regular solid, it was a closed, it had an inside and an outside, 3 edges, 2 points. It means it was like a container. It could hold a thought.
Mm.
And that original thought, when the universe never started, it has always been infinite. Infinity is a word that means infinite.
Yeah.
It has no beginning and it has no end. And the one thing that is light. It goes on forever, and it's been there forever. So it's like the original thought contained in one individual ray of light. The evolution starts with pattern recognition.
Mm.
Because as I was putting things together, I had no idea what I was doing. It wanted to go in the way it wanted to go. So I had no choice. I just kept putting things together. They kept saying, no, I don't go that way. And I go this way until all of a sudden revelation would occur and it would reveal its secrets.
When was that?
Thank you. That's what I'd like to too.
No, when was that? When was the birthday, so to speak?
1871,
1871?
1971.
1971. Do you know the exact birthday?
No,
No.
no.
I wish, because you could, obviously cast a chart for that and see what the purpose and intention of that birth was and where it leads.
No, wasn't thinking about what date it was. I didn't realize what I found.
I know, yeah. There was
It's all
just
in retrospect.
so. Do you want to?
That was an advantage because I had nothing to relearn because I was ignorant. I didn't know the way history has told me the way it's gone. And I've realized that evolution, as we evolved and found new tools, we were able to get new views of what reality really was.
Yes.
And I was, even at a young age, I believed that whatever I was being told the reality was didn't seem to make sense to me. And I've
That's
been
I love people like
subconsciously,
that, you know. We need more of us that just question reality. Or like
hey,
nothing makes sense to you. I mean, you have an Aquarius moon, makes sense. You know, that you're a rebel. Like it's just, you
I
know,
am a rebel.
yeah.
No two ways about it.
Thank God, because otherwise you wouldn't have had that discovery.
But we would have eventually. Terrence Howard may have discovered it in his work. I'm not sure. I don't know if how he found it, but that's what brought me to Terrence not too long ago was his geometry that he was coming up with. So
How does that relate to each other? That would actually be a question for me.
how do we relate to each other?
No, like his discovery and your discovery.
I've talked to Terrence, but I have not been able to get a real conversation going with him on where, who did what, how, or where, or what. But he's found some interesting places. I've tried to ask him to if he wanted to cooperate with me, and I show him everything. When I found this, the idea of making a toy was when I tried to explain it, the space between the people, it was too complicated of an experience. They didn't get it. It's
Yeah.
52 years since I found it, and people are just getting it now. So I figured if I make this information into a toy with no instructions, all you do is play, stick the rod into the intersection and keep doing that. You'll create things. And you don't have to have an idea of what it's going to be. It'll direct you without you getting in the way of it. And I found in the beginning, I went to NASA and I went to universities. I went to engineering, architects. And the NASA said, gee, this is a great idea. However, we've already got a plan that we've invested in, and we're not going to be changing it for you. Where's your doctorate, for God's sake? See, it doesn't make any sense for us to even explore this. And the same thing in universities. And that's when we decided to make it a children's toy because they had no preconceptions of what is. They were open up, everything was new to them.
Mm.
So that's why we made it a toy and gave it to the public to figure out all the things that I found by just playing, as they could find it the same way.
Yeah, you can hope that they have the same epiphany or similar epiphany when they play with it.
Right. Unfortunately, it hasn't been around for 50 years, so
Yeah.
someone's going to have to remake it.
But I
Won't be
mean,
me.
you know, you can be glad in a way because Tesla and Walter Russell, you know, when they were sitting together and talking about their discoveries, I don't know who said it to whom, like that they are like 1,000 years ahead of humanity, and you know, only in a few years they will understand. So
Well,
you are
revelation is revelation. And
revelation.
and I know by playing with geometry, curved geometry, that where I came from, where I'm going, who I am, that I'm part of everything that ever was and will be part of everything that ever is. When I cut the umbilical cord of my sons, I could see the physical connection to every umbilical cord that ever was. And that's everybody that's on this planet today survived the ice age, survived saber-toothed tigers, survived all sorts of incredible disasters. And every one of us has been around ever since there was. We've always been around. we're connected. It's like a river flowing into the ocean. We're part of it all. So I do nothing else. I know what I am. I know where I'm going, and I know where I've been. And that's the question that I was always looking for, and I got the answer. So what made me worry?
You don't have to worry at all. No,
Not at
you
all.
you can just explain to us, maybe in I want to say in the most simple ways, how you can have that revelation through a single shape like the Trion Ray.
No less, do more. That's the problem. People have ignorance was my strong card. I didn't have to relearn anything. If you got a PhD or a doctorate in geometry and mathematics, you're not going to want to go back to something that wasn't there. You already know what's supposed to be. So it's I think the best way to explain it is show the images
Yeah,
that I have,
I
because that's the
understand.
idea. Images, being an artist, I speak in the language of that doesn't need to be translated into another language. It's a visual language.
Yeah,
And that's what happened to me, is learning from a visual language that I'm trying to share with the rest of the world.
I guess you saw with your third eye all of a sudden.
Say again?
You saw with your third eye all of a sudden.
That's the facts.
Yeah. So you are free to share your slideshow or like the images that you've prepared for us.
Yes, I'd like to do that. I always have to figure out how to do that. Share screen, we're doing that now. How do I do that? Stop sharing screen. You want to help me out here?
Usually it's somewhere at the bottom. You can share screen and then you just have to yeah, show which one.
I'm sharing screen now.
Not yet. I think you have to select which screen you share after share screen.
The host is, it says it won't. Well, let's see what we can do here. Okay, that was simple enough.
I think now you can, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you?
Sorry, it's taking so long.
No worries. Patience, you know.
That's in my studio in Laguna Beach. I shoot
Oh,
lasers and lights into the structures. Can you hear me?
yes.
There's the Space Cluster kit. This is the Museum of Modern Art in New York. They were one of my first customers.
Wait a
And they
second. We can't see your screen.
can't see the screen.
No, you're not sharing your screen.
What now?
No,
See it now?
no. Now I think you're starting. Yes, now we see it. Perfect.
Let's go back to the beginning. So this is the kit that I made for the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Once I got that museum, every other museum in the country put it on as well. There's a stack of 10 tetrahedrons, actually tetranes, because I had to rename all the structures because they weren't described anywhere else. So I'd buy science books and math books that had pictures in it, try to find some of the same images, but I couldn't find them. There's 10 tetrahedrons on the right and 20 on the left. That's how I got, even Playboy wrote about it. The space clusters, intersections, and I used to have space launches all over the country with tying the structures to balloons. It shows you how you can build things bigger and stronger and lighter.
Yeah.
Here's an icosatrine built with space clusters. That'd be an icosahedron in straight lines. That's a way to start building the icosahedron.
Yeah.
This was a show that I did at a museum in Laguna Beach for the 4th of July. On the right is what I call a Mickey ball. It's a sphere described all the way to the core of the sphere, not only the outside of the sphere, the skin, but all the way to the core and how it evolved from an icosahedral core, which like on the right is yellow, to a complete circle or sphere. This is another show I did. The yellow is 10 tetranes, the black one is 4 octatranes, and the red one is an icosatrine. I did space launches, like I said, to find intelligent life on the planet Earth. Taken a while, but I have. I met Buckminster Fuller at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago.
Wow.
And it was his birthday, and I was having a show there. So we got a chance to talk, and I brought with me one of my spheres that I built using space cluster intersections. And it's 5s surrounded by 6s. But the center was empty. It was just the skin. So I wanted to find out what it looked like from this core all the way out to the sphere. And this is what I came up with. Icosahedron core is the red, the dodecahedron is the white. In between is a vector equilibrium. And to the right is a total sphere 6 foot, and that was 6 foot in diameter, built out of my space cluster kits. These are a bunch of Mickey balls coming together because there's always another space between. And you got to remember this, the dimension I'm working in is Planck length, the smallest possible, what is it, 32 or 37 decimal points to 1, and how small it is.
Yeah.
So even though it's curved, by the time we see it, it looks straight.
Oh.
This is an icosahedral core, the yellow. There's the TRION rays are spinning, turning, twisting. Next to the icosa is the dodecahedron. These are all the horizontals, not the verticals. So it's, and there it is, the Mickey ball. Why I call it a Mickey ball is because it's described all the way to the core, not just this empty space in between the surface. Nobody's ever done that. And in the process, all the rest of the geometry is created. takes 4 tetrahedrons to make one to birth an octahedron. It takes so many octahedrons to make a vector equilibrium. And it takes 180 tetraeds or to make a sphere.
Mm.
So in each dimension, each shape creates, births another shape. So there's an evolution in geometry.
Yeah, because it never ends.
Never ends. But it's the same structure all the way down. And what can you do? It looks like a chaos, but it's all from your point of view.
Mm.
The TRION ray is the element's smallest regular polyhedron. If light is a solid, it can hold a thought. That original elemental thought is pattern recognition. 3 dynamic equal faces, 3 dynamic edges, spins, inside, outside, and 2 points. And the infinity came out all by itself by shining light through it. So it keeps revealing itself. The more you play with it, the more you experiment, the more you discover. This is showing us like how light is like music. The
Mm.
distance, as you get to the distance between the points is constantly changing because it's in motion. It's breathing in, out, in, out. It twists. On the right side is a tetrahedron also, but it's in another form because it's flexible.
Yeah.
This is where it all started. And this is where anybody who's watching this video can do this. You take the flower of life, you cut out the first part here, the triangle piece. Now that's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And they all have one thing in common, the cusp. That's where the TRION ray connects everything to everything. Now this piece of paper, cut on the outside, scored on the inside, and then folded. And that's how I made the TRION ray, by taking the 3 cusps and gluing them together. These are some of the things you can make once you do the paper. This is a vector equilibrium on the bottom. So it's all the same regular polyhedra, but in curves.
Yeah, and you can literally find a TRION ray in everything.
It's in everything.
And
But who's got
once you see it, and you can't unsee it, you know? Like all of a sudden it's everywhere.
well, as science developed, it was first just started to change when they developed the telescope and the microscope. You gave a new tool to be able to look at the universe around us. Well, this is a new tool as well.
Mm.
Here's our flower of life. Here's my flower of life on the left.
Yeah.
Flower of life coming off the 2D plane. The flower of life blooming on the right.
It just looks so much more harmonious than the 2D version, you know?
Well, it has breath. It's
Yeah.
breathing.
It has life, you know?
It has life in it. It has
Yeah.
life in it. Light.
Light, yeah.
Again. Tetrines. 3 tetrines, 1 octatrine. Now Terence has found this shape as well.
Yeah.
Since it's in movement and constant flow, the image on the right is in flux from the image of the left. So it's an octahedron, but when it's moving and fluctuating, breathing,
Yeah.
it's also that picture on the right. So whenever we look at something, it's only for a moment in time and space.
Mhm.
There's more. That's my desk here.
Oh.
Here's all optics.
I love these.
When you shoot lasers into them, you get some pretty interesting.
The eyes on the
We
left.
got this back.
Wow.
If you look at the image on the left,
It looks
you'll
like the
see,
eye of Ra.
say again,
Looks like the eye of Ra in there.
it's what it is. It looks
Yeah.
like a man too.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
it is the Eye of Ra. It's Horus.
Yeah.
This is the crystal they made at Lawrence Livermore. They shoot lasers through that. Well, they shoot lasers through this, they'll get a lot more refraction than this.
Mm.
This is a 10 stack of tetrahedrons. This is when I discovered the TRION ray. It was the space between the tetrahedrons. As you can see, if you look, you can see the empty space.
I just see eyes everywhere. It's crazy.
Right. Revelation. I didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
This is some of the refractions that you get from shooting light into those crystals.
And you can see that, I mean, it's all rainbow, so it's all color spectrums. Wow.
This is the interstructure of a Mickey ball. 12 points coming out of the orange.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the making of the Mickey ball. There's 20 tetrahedron, 20 sets of 10 tetrahedrons going together to make a sphere. So I'm breaking down a sphere all the way down to the core. This is when I was in New York City for the toy show, a fellow by the name of Edmund from Edmund Scientific, it's a scientific magazine that sells used science equipment. And he comes up to my booth and he sees all these structures hanging from the ceiling. He says, "What do you call that structure? I've never seen that described before." And then I realized not only did I discover something, I had to name it too.
Yes.
That's where I came up with the tetrene, tetrex, tetron, different moments in time and space. Same thing all the way down with all the regular solids.
Yeah.
This is a vector equilibrium with octahedrons. 4 octahedrons make one vector equilibrium. That's me.
That's you.
It's in my studio. That's that.
So I would like to ask you how the TRION ray as a structure could be reflected, because usually, I don't know if we've animated it, that when we think about the DNA strands, or we see the DNA strands, or they are, they're shown to us, they are very 2D as well. And so if you would take the double helix and actually form it all through TRION rays, I think it would be a more accurate way of actually giving us a visual of the DNA strands. That makes sense.
If you can't see the triangle, we don't have the tools to look down that far. It appears with the microscopes that we have powerful today.
Yeah.
Electron microscope, believe me, in 50 years they'll have one that's stronger. They put up telescopes in the sky and space. They bring up another 20 years, another bigger one comes up, and they keep seeing more and more universe.
Yeah.
The size of the universe 40 years ago is different than the size of the universe today because they've had more powerful telescopes to look further into space.
Do you
What
want to
happened?
show us something else? Or
Well, we could. Something happened here. How do I open this up? How do I open this up?
What?
What do you see on your screen?
I
I'm
see
sorry, I'm messing
I
up.
see a rainbow. I see your desktop, the rainbow. Did you want to end the screen share or did you want to show us something else?
I want to, well, we can, yeah, if you have more questions, we can do that right now.
Yes. You want to share the screen in the meantime? Or?
Trying to, but I'm not sure how to do it.
Well, then I would like to, because you sent me this amazing poem as well, and I know you're a passionate writer as well, how much of your work has been also coming through writing? Because you mentioned, you know, when you're too much in the head and all of that, we have to be more playing and like doing instead of contemplating and maybe thinking too much. So, and you also mentioned you're an artist, so what is it actually that you want to leave behind as a legacy, let's just say, on the planet? Like, what would you like the world to wake up to?
There are no straight lines in the universe. Everything is curved. The flower of life is a two-dimensional depiction of what's going on in the universe. It's three-dimensional, multi-dimensional.
Mm.
Look for the space between. That's why I started writing when I was first coming up with space clusters, to just contemplate what was going on, and it just started. There we go, son of a gun, it did it,
Uh,
and it just occurred. So I was isolated in an apartment, and when I wasn't putting things together, structure, I was putting words together to try and explain the experience I was having.
mm,
And that's that's how the writing started. Trying to get it through my mind, what is going on, and where am I now? Where was I before? How do I go forward? How do I present this material to others? So I did it in a written way, and I did it in a physical way.
mm. Yeah, so it all started with trying to make sense of your experience, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It was kind of abstract at first. I didn't have any words to explain it.
yeah.
I had to try and explain the process, that how it occurred for me, so others could understand.
Mm. Classic genius to freak kind of, or freak to genius, you know?
Might have been something to do with the acid.
So how does the TRION ray connect to hydrogen? Because hydrogen is always like because you also said the TRION ray is the cosmic glue that holds everything together. And for me, it's always like the origin is hydrogen, right?
And all the rest of the molecules are made up of TRION ray. Everything is made up of TRION ray.
Yeah.
So when you say hydrogen, it's made up. They need to make another table of atoms, because the way they have it now, and here's where I definitely agree with Terrence. He believes there should be a different model for the atomic structure,
I
And I
mean,
agree.
well, do you know Walter Russell's
Yes, I do.
Yeah, exactly. And that seems more accurate. It's also obviously curved.
When I found the TRION RE, I contacted his wife. I didn't
Mm,
know it had already passed. And then she turned me on to another gentleman, Yasuhiko Kikumura, who took over Walter Russell's think tank.
yeah.
So there have been people that have noticed that whatever it is that I've been doing is different, and
Yeah.
is a window opening to other spaces. Most people have, I could afford to take the time off to explore it. I couldn't do anything else.
Mm,
So I had years to just play with toys, not have to go to work or break my train of thought.
How were you able to do that?
I was in the real estate business before I got into the toy business. Or into It was something. That's why I gave it up, because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't deal with the world of business out there.
Mm,
It's like Macy's department store, one of the biggest department stores in the world. I made a deal with them. I says, look, you don't have to pay for anything. I'll bring everything in. And when Christmas Day comes, you said, give me a check for what we sold. Well, we sold out. They owed me about $12,000. I said, where's my check? I said, well, we'll mail it to you. 3 months later, I get on the phone. I said, where's my money already? I didn't want to do that in life.
mm,
Make a deal with a company and then they just mess up just so they can save the interest on the payments. I didn't want to, it wasn't honest.
yeah.
I didn't want to deal in a dishonest world. I found truth in reality, and I wanted to stay in truth and reality.
Mm.
So I stopped. I was traveling all over the United States, setting up department stores and museums, and I didn't want to be on the road. So I stopped, let it for somebody else to come and do it. So I'm waiting for somebody out there. If you're there, call me. I'll be more than happy to show anyone everything I know.
What would you like to the TRION RE to, I want to say, if you are happen to be not around anymore, but the TRION RE has obviously is your baby. Like, what would you like for it to become and to be
I
more?
would, what I would like to see happen, and I'm not financially involved in this.
Yeah,
I'd like to see someone take it up from where I left off, because that was kit number one, space clusters. There's
yeah.
7 more kits. There's so much more to do and to promote it. It was the top selling toy in 1974 of even Etch a Sketch and Lego. We
Mm,
sold more space clusters than Lego sold Legos. It was it's very successful. However, I lost interest in doing business.
mm.
I'd rather stay in a free state. Someone else who's into wanting to do business, I'll be more than happy to show them how to do it.
So you want it for it to be a toy again, like
I
on?
would like that. That would be this generation. It's time again.
It's true.
Kids loved it. It's we need it now more than ever. An opportunity to find your real, true, authentic self through just playing, without instruction,
And I think
without
for
friction.
kids, they are even more receptive to having these revelations because they are not so conditioned and biased in the brain, and they don't even
Absolutely.
overthink so much. For them, it's probably like an instant recognition what the TRION RE actually represents.
Well, there were so many different things you could do. If you just take one rod, one intersection, and put it together, you got a lollipop.
Mhm.
You take it and bend it around, you got a flower. If you don't even go into the geometrics of it, you get things immediately. You can't help it. It's in the, when you're dealing with the original spectrum, things occur just by pattern recognition. They occur by themselves. You're just putting things together and seeing how it wants to go. Instead of you wanting to make it go somewhere, let it show you the way to go.
Yeah, because the TRION ray, I mean, the way I see it, it's the building block of
It's the
everything.
basic building block of the universe.
Yeah, it's the building block.
It's the God particle that Leon Letterman talked about.
Yeah.
The Polynesians called it a star seed. The Egyptians called it the Eye of Horus.
That's why
And
I'm when you think about it's the building block, so it must be reflected in the DNA strand, because again,
of
when we
course, everything is. You got to go a lot further into the DNA string to see what's really going on.
that's true. No, what I mean by that is, the way that we visualize the DNA strand even, or it's being shown to us. Do you have an animation, for example, of the TRION ray in the DNA? That would be something really nice to.
I do have an animation. Have you seen any of my animations on my website?
I've looked at all of the things on your website.
Well, let's see if I've got one here easily to find. I don't want to lose you.
You're not losing us. And I mean, even the way you explain it, it's a principal force of pushing, you know, gravity pulling and radiation spinning. But the nature, like radiation, is the nature of everything. It's like a
It's
constant.
electromagnetic fields.
Yeah, it's like Walter Russell explains, light, and it's the constant push and pull between positive and negative, and it's always spinning and always moving.
For some reason, I can't open it up. No, I can't show it. I can't do it.
You can't?
I don't know. On my website, the geometry of light is what I was going to show you. So if you go to my website
Yes.
and under videos is the geometry of light.
Let's see if I can find. Videos. Which of them?
Geometry of light.
Yeah, like which what I'm
Top
gonna.
right. Top right. Oh, I got it.
Which video? Yeah. Which video?
Top right.
Oh, top right, sorry. This one.
Geometry of light, the theory. There it is. So all these videos are on my website, michaelrevans.com.
What do you mean?
The video can be blown up bigger on my website.
On,
I
on,
show you can go to YouTube and type in geometry of light, and you'll find the videos that show the animation, how it occurs. Light connects everything in the universe, creating space itself.
yeah, I'm gonna obviously link that for everyone to watch and contemplate and have an experience, because the whole video is already an experience where all of a sudden you see again the TRION ray everywhere.
If you get good eyes,
I
here's
think
what
it's one of these things that just changes your perception forever and you can't unsee it anymore, you know?
that's a fact.
Yeah. Like after I discovered you, I just saw it everywhere. You know, here in Dubai, around the Burj Khalifa, there is the
The
flower of
leaves on the trees.
the leaves on the trees too, yeah. But there's the flower of life embedded all around the Burj Khalifa, and I could just not stop seeing the Trion Ray everywhere, and I'm like, how did I not see that before? You know?
It's obvious, so obvious we've missed it for the last 5,000 years.
Yeah,
It's right there. We just never took it off the 2D page.
yeah,
And like I said, I don't think the first, second dimension even exist. I think they're, well, mathematics, nature doesn't use math. Nature uses geometry,
yeah,
doesn't use numbers in any kind of conscious kind of way. Geometry it uses how do the birds know which way to fly?
mm,
It's contained in their DNA.
yeah.
And how does it do that? Well, the DNA has to be a solid to hold that information.
But
And that's
how does the Trion Ray hold an information? Because you know, if you think of everything being Trion rays, but still they have to have different information in order to form different structures, right?
as they connect and become, as they connect, they become more aware of themselves. Until it gets to us, we become self-aware.
Yeah,
How does a lion know when to mate? How does, I mean, no one has to teach them how to take care of the cubs.
yeah,
It's all automatic. That information is contained within, remember, this is not a solid, it's got an inside.
yeah,
It's got a skin. And inside is as the pattern recognition continues to build all the way up to scale from the infinitesimal, unseeable to the what's right in front of our nose, the information becomes self-aware. It puts it all together. There's so much available to it.
mm,
Then when it was down at the bottom, it didn't have much information. It did. They say that life began in the oceans,
yeah,
but life really began in the air. It was too hot on the surface of the earth for the light to turn into life. It was too cold in the upper atmosphere for the light to turn into life. There was a small zone in between the earth and the atmosphere where life started to connect together, where the Trion rays started to build. And as the earth cooled, they would fall down into the oceans. And instead of boiling and dying, they would get bigger and bigger and grow until they finally became us.
Mm,
That's a long way.
true.
That's a long way. And it's a long way from 0.00032 times one. It's a long, the distance between my nose and my toes is as far as from here to Andromeda. That's how much space there is that we don't see, that we don't realize what a universe we are as individuals.
And yet
That's
everything is all like, they say everything, the universe, everything is in the mind. It's all mental. How do you explain that then?
right. Pattern recognition. Mental is, that's the first thought.
Yeah.
A long time ago when we were still Cro-Magnon, if you were in the middle of nowhere and all of a sudden you saw another human being coming, what's the first thing in your mind? Is it male or female?
Yeah,
Pattern recognition. It's
true.
one of the first conscious thoughts that you have is pattern recognition, where you can tell if it's threat or friend,
Mm.
life or death. So,
Evolution or, destruction.
so the longer you're able to continue to weave, it's just like a three-dimensional loom. Instead of weaving a carpet, it weaves the fabric of life itself.
Yeah,
And the bigger, the longer, the more threads you have to put together, the bigger the carpet that you get to make.
yeah.
But it's a multi-dimensional loom of TRION rays weaving the fabric of life throughout the
Even
universe.
even why we attract certain people in our life, it's all pattern recognition at the end of the day.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's obvious once where the space between reveals itself, everything else just lays right out.
Mm.
You start seeing it everywhere,
Yeah.
and it only occurs in curves in the natural form. It doesn't straight lines. So when you make a box, those corners are you can collapse a box. One corner would come out.
That's why, that's actually something I wanted to address as well. I mean, it's very to me it's always felt really inorganic, but then also there are studies now that it actually makes us sick that we are in boxed buildings, all with straight lines, and that we need like architecture even to be more curved, because having these straight lines everywhere is just very unnatural.
Well, in our dimension, that's true. It's easier to cut a piece of wood in a straight line than it is to cut it in a curve.
Yeah.
So it's in the environment we find ourselves where we find straight lines, and usually are to the best of my knowledge created by man,
Yeah.
just like mathematics was created by man.
But it doesn't even make sense if you think of optics, because even the eye and the retina, it's curved, and
Right.
that's how everything starts, the projection through
But
the eyes.
most lenses are two-dimensional, conveyed, convex, and convey and convex.
Yeah,
Two-dimensional, flat on one side, round on the other.
yeah,
Crystal ball is round all the way through. So it's different when you shoot light through a crystal ball than it is a prism, or it's different.
yeah. So, is there anything else you would like for the listeners and watchers to know about you, about your revelations, about how they can come to a different perception about the world?
There's more out there than we know. There's much more than we can see. And sometimes it's better to find in doing than thinking. sometimes you have to dispel the thinking of what you think is and open yourself to what you don't have a clue about. And when you empty the space, new information is available to fill it up. So don't believe everything you're told. Think for yourself.
Or stop thinking altogether.
Well, you want to think about your relationship with others. Here's another.
Mm.
Now these can be made with that pattern that I showed you in the
Yeah. This one I love so much.
when it's flat, it bends anyway, it has no strength. But once you curve it,
Yeah.
so is it this or is it this? It's both.
It's all. Yeah.
It's we didn't add anything, we didn't take anything, all we did was configure it differently. This has strength. This doesn't. Same thing. It's all in the curves.
Similar to, you know, if you breathe in and breathe out, that pulsation of creation as well.
As rays, breathe.
Yeah.
Breathe out, breathe in, rest. There's a space between the breathing in and the breathing out, where it's in rest. You're not breathing in or you're not breathing out, you're in between.
But even that rest is kind of an illusion because it's spinning while it rests. You know, it's vibrating.
You do both at the same time.
Yeah.
You can twist
Yeah.
and expand at the same time. You saw those images that we showed where they were in flux.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even when you know, when you pointed a laser into the TRION ray, it's very, it's like spinning, but it's also resting.
That was my confirmation that the TRION ray was light, because I shoot the laser away from the corner. It's going there all on its own. It's designed within the geometry of the shape
Yeah.
to do that. It wasn't me that made it do that. It was it that made it do that. And it was something I made. So we're all connected. Everything's connected.
That's true. Yeah, that's the one, to see the oneness in everything, and the oneness is, to put it in one word, a TRION ray. It's like
They're the universe. We're one and the same.
yeah, we are light.
We're another constellation,
Mhm.
and we're made of light.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool for geometry.
It's pretty cool that it explains everything.
We're playing for a toy.
I definitely, you know, whoever is listening, watching, and has, you know, a toy company or wants to start something for children, let's do it. Ooh, space clusters. I want to have some. I want to
50
play.
years old.
That's so
That
cool.
package is 50 years old. It's hard to believe.
And it's not available anymore to purchase?
No.
That's
There's
sad.
some friends of mine have found them on Etsy and different places on the web.
Yeah.
But the last guy who tried to find it on the web couldn't find it anymore.
We need to bring it back. I would love for children to
I'm
play.
82. I mean, almost 83 years old.
I know.
I ain't bringing anything back. It's up to the rest of the, it's up to someone out there that is wondering.
Someone please out there who's listening, invent us having children play with them again. I would love that.
It'll happen.
It will happen. I will forward them to you for sure. Or you can, whoever is listening or watching, definitely leave us a comment if they want
I'll
to.
show them. All they're gonna do is show up here. I am not going anywhere.
Yes, you're in Laguna Beach?
I'm now in Fallbrook, a town south of Laguna Beach.
Okay. So
I'm on
California.
an avocado ranch.
Nice.
That rainbow, that's
Yeah.
my eastern view.
Nice. So my final question would be, how are you spending your days nowadays? Because basically your life's work is done. Like, what are you doing?
Going to the Veterans Hospital and backgammon.
Mm.
I'm retired. I have no, there's nothing
I mean, you've done everything in this life, that's what I mean. Like, what
I
are you?
know what's next. I look at the trees and the air and the sun and the moon and
That's awesome.
one with it all. I have no need to try and prove myself anymore. I've proven to myself who I really am by playing with the stupid toy,
Yeah.
by exploring the space between, not the thing, but the space between.
That's like also something, I pray that everyone takes away that the greatest inventions come from us being children again, just playing.
Well, Einstein said, he said, well, you got a problem you can't solve, and all of a sudden you look down on the floor and there's your kid playing with a toy, and it's revealed to you that toy what to do next.
Mhm.
So Einstein couldn't be wrong.
That's true. And Michael Evans couldn't be wrong either.
Oh, I could be wrong. All I can say is this is what I found. Now, if you want to do the same things that I did, you'll find the same things. Is the only thing I'm saying. Well, what it is, why it is, how far it goes, I have no idea, because it's as broad as the universe is broad.
The greatest thing you can always say is, I don't know. I
Well, I
don't
didn't know either, but
I don't know
all of a
what I
sudden,
don't know. We don't know because we are never done learning.
depends on what questions you ask.
Yeah, that's true. But it's always a good approach to say, I don't know what I don't know, because then you stay curious.
Well, curious is a luxury.
That's true.
You know, if you have to go to work every day, I was lucky. I made enough money in the real estate business that when this came to me, I had enough to create it and live off of it.
Yeah.
So, and
Life,
then my,
life supports the big inventors in this world.
why not?
All right, Michael. Thank you so much for your insights, your time, I
Well, I've
mean,
been looking forward to your interview. I'm
yes.
sorry I messed up a little bit on the video.
Oh, no worries. Technology is not, it's not an obstacle.
Okay.
It's not an obstacle at all. And yeah, I will definitely obviously upload it and listen and
Would you
link.
send me a link when it comes up?
Of course I will, and I will link all the information to you down below in the show notes and in the info box on YouTube and your channel as well, so everyone can find you. And I really hope, it would be amazing if someone comes and approaches you for the toy business. That
Put
would
it
be,
out there.
that's my
I
intention.
put it out to Terrence. Terrence, if you're listening,
Yes. Parents, or I mean even Yain, he does so much with children. He should kind of like start, selling toys.
uh, I put it out to Jane too.
Yeah.
Is it pronounced Yane? The J is silent?
Yeah, Jane.
Yane.
Jane.
Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
Yeah,
But
of
thank you so much for contacting me and
course.
allowing me to share my space journey.
Your space journey with the space clusters. Definitely. So yeah, I will obviously stay in touch with you, and thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the rainbows over there and the final, energies of the full moon. And yeah, let's see where the Trion Ray connects us again.
All right, send everybody to michaelrevans.com.
I will. I will. Thank you,
All right,
Michael.
there's 5 videos there too. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
You
Michael.
Have a great day.